men. And I use the term ever so loosely. Feast your eyes upon the next project. I have evidence and reason to believe that this thing has not been running since 1990. We'll look at that evidence in a little bit. The owner has a real hankering to fire this thing up and putz on down the road with it. Severely crusty. Severely crusty. One of the crustier ones I've ever run across lately. If you look deep into the bowels, you can see there's no starter on it. The starter's laying over here in a pile of crap, and it is obviously no good. I think the previous owner quit working on it. I think he tried to fix the starter, and the bolts in the Bendix housing, the screw holes, are all jacked up. They've been like double drilled and broken out parts in there, so the Bendix housing needs some work to start out with. See this nice crisscross pattern on the tire? That's not molded into the tire. That's because the tire is too wide and it's rubbing on the chain. Every time the chain goes around, it makes those marks on there. Looks kind of cool, but the wheel is too big. The tire's too big, so it needs a new back tire. Not to mention that the tire is 34 years old plus, so the rubber's got to be no good. We have the obligatory king and queen seat. It's crusty. We've got your rusty air cleaner cover. So we're going to be pulling that off and get a look at the carburetor and see how much crud is in there. The tire has rolled off of the rim. So obviously that tire's coming off of that rim. The brake levers. The front brake lever, as you would expect after 35 years, has got nothing. I'm sure it's all gummed up, locked up, seized up, won't do anything. The current owner, I think he said it was his granddaughter. He let his granddaughter draw on it with some chalk. He wants to preserve this bike, kind of the crusty state. He wants me to get it running. I'm sure I can. Anyway, front fender. The best part of the bike, in my opinion, are these highway pegs. I've seen this style before. I like the one with the chrome naked ladies on it. I think these are the coolest part of the bike. I'd love to have a bike and use these on there. I think those are neat. Anyway, generator down yonder, who knows if it works. Your silicone spark plug wires. I don't know whether these are suppression wires or copper wires. We'll figure it out. Needs, of course, a battery. I like this over here, too. Gobs of wire just kind of hanging out. The turn signals have been removed. I think this must be turn signal wiring. It's going to get a rewire job. Taillight, busted, missing. A little more of the granddaughter's chalk marks. But yeah, I got my work cut out for me on this one. It came, of course, with a box of parts. This crusty box over here allegedly has a set of exhaust pipes in it, new exhaust pipes. We'll see. That greasy piece of crap is the starter. I assume the starter that caused all the problems. Somebody opened it up. I might look at it, I might not. Over there's another starter. That one looks pretty good. Looks like it might work. Here's what happens when you let something sit too long and them mud daubers get to it. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Brand new inner tube. You know, after sitting in this box for 30 years, I don't know if I trust it or not. One of them piece of crap chrome battery covers. I don't know why people like these things so much. You know, this is junk. Brand new clutch plates. Steel and friction discs. I guess I'll put those on. A dented up used voltage regulator. Like I said, who knows if the generator works or if the voltage regulator that's on there works. I don't think this one will, but you never know. This may be a new Barnett clutch spring. Maybe, who knows. Solenoid. Big cracks in it. Pieces missing over here, corroded as hell. That may go straight to the garbage. Well, here we go. A brand new voltage regulator. I don't immediately see a date on it, but a new regulator nonetheless. Got a pile of stuff. Nothing too exciting. Sprocket cover. This bike's XLH. Notice it's not drilled for the kickstart shaft. Okay, this is dated September 15th, 1990. Air filter. Wow, circuit breaker. Clutch spring, drive plates. $158 worth of stuff. Here's another receipt. September 15th, 1990. Timing cover, gasket, the point cover, and a new point cover, which I thought I saw one of those in here somewhere. There it is. There it is, brand new point cover. You know, this is so interesting. Here a guy bought, you know, points, timing cover, figuring he's going to, you know, tune the bike up a little bit, fix the starter or the solenoid or whatever, and the project stopped. What went wrong? You know, why did the guy abandon this after spending this money on it? Okay, here we go. July 12th, 1990. Starter motor. Could that be this one? It might be. This looks moldy as hell. Could just be from banging around for the last 35 years. Can't tell whether it's been installed or not, but we'll figure it out. Got another pile of receipts here. November 1st, 1990. More clutch parts, voltage regulator, and a gasket. Think I'm going to find a couple of folded up $100 bills in here? I'm thinking probably not. August 2nd, 1990. A roll pin for something or another. March 31st, 1990. New battery, $68.95. And a condenser, $2. Okay, April 19th, 1990. Special order. Doesn't say what he special ordered. Okay, April 4th, 1990. oil filter element. Here it is. Okay, July 19th, 1990. Solenoid switch, base assembly, and a couple of timing screws. Instructions sheet for installing drag specialty exhaust pipes. This owner wants me to get cracking on this thing, so I think I will. Gonna pull the oil tank, the bracket, solenoid. Gonna take the Bendix housing out first, get it fixed up, and then I think what I want to do is put that starter on there and just hot wire the starter and see if it'll crank the motor. If it'll crank the motor, if the motor's not locked up, we'll do a compression test on it and take it from there. So let's start ripping and tearing. And so the first wrenching begins. Fuck, is that fucking long enough? Jesus Christ. Ay, ay, ay. The moment of splooge. I got this stripped down to the level I wanted it stripped down to. The problem was the mounting holes for the starter were dicked up. And, you know, I look at the receipts, I look at the parts, the leftovers, there's some new parts, I look at that stuff. And the guy quit working on it when he got to these stripped out holes over here. There was a receipt for a new solenoid, yet there was no new solenoid in the pile of parts. The new solenoid was installed. It didn't look new because it's been, you know, hanging out in the moisture, the dampness, or whatever for the last 34 years. So it was a little corroded, but I believe the solenoid that was bolted to it was, in fact, a new solenoid. And when I started working on it, of course, the battery box, the battery tray was over here, the oil tank was over here. If you're going to work on this shit, just take the oil tank and the battery tray off. It's much easier to get access to all of this stuff with those things out of the way. 5 bolts to get the battery tray and the oil tank off. You know, a handful of wires for the voltage regulator. But still, it's so much easier. So do yourself a favor, remove the oil tank, remove the battery tray, and all of this is easily accessible. I cleaned this up just with parts washer, sprayed on parts washer, hit it with a paintbrush, stiff brush, and, you know, scrubbed it out. So that actually looks pretty good in there right now. The goal for today is to get a starter on there and jumper it just off a battery, probably the battery out of my car. As much as I don't like doing that, I don't have another big battery laying around that I could just jump onto this thing. And I want to see if the engine cranks and if it has compression. That's the goal. This bike, well, you know, I have to name all the videos and the projects and all that. I think this is just going to be a rat bike. It doesn't even rise to the level of true rat rod. This owner has expressed that he doesn't really want to do any much cosmetic to it at all. He'd like a springer put on there and some ape hanger handlebars, but I'm not touching the paint, not polishing anything up. The cover is chrome, the cam cover is chrome, and of course the chrome's all fucked up. Rocker boxes are chrome. This one looks pretty good. This one's all fucked up. I could see it's all bubbling and peeling in through here, and I could probably scrape a bunch of it off. But I want to get the compression checked to see if it's even worth, well, to see whether I got to pull the engine or not. So we're going to put the Bendix housing, the solenoid, and the starter back on, and then we're going to hot jumper it with the battery and make sure she cranks and see what kind of compression it's got. So that's the plan anyway for the rest of the day working on this thing. I pulled the exhaust pipe off because there was only one and there's supposedly a pair of new ones in one of those boxes over there. Took the air cleaner off. I wanted to see how much crud was in the carb, and it's going to need a good cleaning. The fuel line is a piece of rock hard plastic, so you know that's going to get replaced. Points all rusty. The gap is not properly set on it. This will get probably a set of Chevy points because the V-twin points are crap. Oil lines are all going to get replaced. But anyway, let's get working on this rat bike. Okay, this is a used Bendix housing, one I had laying around. It's got good holes in it for the starter mounting screws. There's Healy coils in there, yeah, but there's only 2 holes. The other one had some kind of holes that were off drilled because they were trying to turn the starter around, and actually that might have worked. But anyway, you got one with good holes in it. One thing to note, this is kind of a pain in the ass to put on, and it was installed on the old solenoid, and how they actually managed to get it in working under the battery box is a tribute to the previous owner's dedication, I guess, because to me it's just easier to take this thing off. One thing to note, these tabs are not welded on the solenoid body in the same place, and this is a spacer I made to get it situated correctly. This is the spacer that came out of there, and if you ram these screws down on top of this spacer, it would have tried to bend the whole thing and shift it. So if you run into one where your spacer doesn't look correct, it probably isn't correct. But get you a chunk of steel or whatever, nothing special, drill a couple holes in it, and you could get a nice even gap across here. Your foam washer and your rubber cup, which, you can see the back of it in here, and your rubber cup will seal up nicely against the solenoid to keep the oil in this way and not out this way. So we're ready to put this on. I'm going to put it on there, and then we could jump the solenoid to the starter, put the starter on, and see if it spins. And when I pulled the old Bendix housing off of the engine, the thrust washer was missing. So I got new thrust washers we're going to put on there, so the thrust washer will be there when it goes back together. Well, you know what I never have when I'm working on these things? Good luck. And here's some luck that's not good. There's an alignment pin in here that's broken off just about flush with the back of the crankcase here. And the Bendix housing I have has alignment pins pressed in it already. So being as how 2 things can't occupy the same place at the same time, and I would prefer there to be an alignment pin rather than not one at all, because I could just take the one out of the Bendix housing. I got to get this out of here. And I do believe that the back side of this hole goes through to the other side of this here. So keep an eye on this pin and let's see if it moves. Ah, now look at that. Out. That's some good goddamn luck, let me tell you. All right, moment of truth. Solenoid and battery hooked up. Got a car battery jumper in it. We're going to short out the energizing post on the solenoid to the power supply, the battery, battery 12 volts over here. First test, see if it cranks. Cranks good. Next test, we're going to hook the compression tester up to it and see what kind of compression it's got. All right, the tester's hooked up to the front jug. We're going to crank or see what kind of compression it's got, if any. Not very good. All right, hooked up to the rear jug, throttle wide open. Let's see what it does. Yeah, about the same as the front. Not great. On an engine that's been sitting for 35 years, not really that surprising either. Let's get the Borescope out and do some Borescope video. So I ran the Borescope in and out of both cylinders, and I took a few random pictures for y'all to see. In some respects, they look pretty good. In some respects, not so good. I notice the both cylinders seem relatively glazed over. There was a total absence of any kind of crosshatch. So the guy who honed them last was stroking too slow with his hone, or was running the hone too fast, one or the other. Good things, no rust. The piston tops were clean, no carbon, so I suspect this had very low miles on it. But yeah, something's good, something's not so good. There was evidence of slight vertical scratching in both cylinders, and you should see that in the pictures if you take a look. You know, that's not going to go away, and it's not going to get any better. They were glazed over. Once you glaze the cylinder, it's not going to get any better, so the rings will probably never seat. And then you got that slight vertical scoring. So, you know, whether the pistons were scored or not, I don't know, but the cylinder walls certainly were. And the tops of the pistons looked a little oily to me. So this thing had been passing oil. Yeah, some good, not so good, but, you know, a problem. Definitely a problem. Man, today is the next day. And just so you know, this video was pieced together out of, I don't know, 3 or 4 days of intermittent working on this thing. Anyway, this is the next day after doing a compression test and such on it. And the plan has taken a turn. I told the owner what the compression was. I told him I saw some slight vertical scratches in the cylinders. He did not want to get it running, hoping that the compression would come up and that it was just low because it had been sitting so long. I think the compression will come up. I really do. I don't think it'll come up to normal. It might come up to 120, say, instead of 60 or 80. But I don't think it'll ever be quote unquote normal. It'll never get to 140 or 145. Anyway, he didn't want to spend money on this thing, getting it in driving condition, only to find out after driving it for, you know, a month that it was, you know, burning oil and, you know, didn't have any power, and then have to spend a bunch more money on the motor. So he is bailing out on this thing. I have time in this, and therefore I have money in this. So he owes me some money. In his opinion, the bike isn't worth proceeding on. So we worked out an amicable deal here. The bike is now mine. Lucky me. Anyway, it's for sale. The owner would like to get some money back out of it. I want to get my money back out of it, so I kind of got to ask $1,500 for it. I'm willing to entertain offers, but anyway, at least you, the prospective customer, knows now that the motor does crank over. It's not locked up. It does have some compression. You know it's got a good starter. You know it's got a good solenoid on it. I put air, well, in the box of parts was an inner tube. Turns out it was the wrong size inner tube. It was a 19 by 2.7 to 3, and this is a 3.5 tire, so the tube is too small for the tire. But nonetheless, shove the tube in there, you know, broke the bead off on one side, shove the tube in there, blow it up. It's got like 25 pounds of air in it is all. The bead is not seated on the tire, so you can't drive it with that tube in there. Not that it's drivable anyway, but conceivably a guy could, you know, clean out the carb, adjust the points, put it back together again, and it'd run. But anyway, I put a tube in this tire just so I can move it around the shop, because slugging these things around with a flat tire is a pain in the balls. So it's got a tube in it just to push it around, and here it sits for your $1,500. You get, of course, the bike, all the parts that I showed you in the bin the other day, except for the new clutch plates, which I'm keeping. And depending on how bad you want them or not, I really love this highway peg arrangement. This whole thing, I really love that. I'd like to take that off. If you don't want it, I want to keep that. But you know, otherwise, as it sits, you get it. So he's bailing on it, and it's now for sale. So hey, you're interested? Send me an email. You know, give me a way to get a hold of you in the contacts, or send me an email, whatever. Or make me an offer I can't refuse. You know, the $1,500 isn't necessarily firm, that's for sure. I was really looking forward to this project. I thought it was going to be fun, but not the case. So with that, I am out of here. Thank you all for watching, and maybe the next project will be seen through to completion. Have a good day, y'all. Take it easy. Bye. Men, if you like this channel and this content, the single most important thing you could do to help grow this channel is to hit the subscribe button. I also have new design coffee cups and stickers available. You know, I like the old coffee cups, but I like these new ones even more. Links are included in the description down below. And for those of you who really want to go the extra mile, you could join me on Patreon. Link is also included in the description down below. And to all of you who have watched these videos, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye.